Demons in Demon Slayer look like this. They don't look like this because they're known as nocturnal human eaters, and generally, average Joes are scared of them. The only people that even had a chance against them are the Demon Slayer core, and against the stronger demons, even the Hashira, who are the strongest of the Demon Slayers, can struggle. For example, the 6th Upper Moon, Daki and Gyutaro, who were considered the weakest of the elite demons, had eaten 22 Hashiras in their lifetime, and when they were finally taken down, it took not 1 or 2 or 3, but 8 people to take them down, and most of them could barely move by the end of it. Because of how strong and ruthless the demons were, they were seen to be absolutely evil, and it made sense, but not all of them were always pure evil. When a human is turned into a demon, they retain some of their personality, but most of the time they completely forget their human past. Some of them may have been criminals, insane, or weirdos that willingly became demons. However, they could have also been any old village rando that was tricked or forced into becoming a demon, just like everyone's favorite demon in a box, Nezuko. And oftentimes, these demons weren't all that bad, well, besides the whole eating humans part. But these demons could be redeemable, and one of these redeemable demons was Akaza. When Akaza is first seen, he's seen fighting Rengoku in a heated battle. Surprisingly, Rengoku for a short time was able to keep up with Akaza, and he respected Rengoku immensely for it. Akaza even offered to turn Rengoku to a demon so that Rengoku could internally get stronger, and it was because Akaza valued strength above all. Akaza was one of the strongest demons of all time, with there literally being only 3 demons that were stronger than him. Akaza was so strong that he fought and defeated Rengoku, fought both Gyu and post-training art Tanjiro and almost defeated them, and at one point when his head was cut off, he somehow became the only demon that was able to regenerate his cut off head, and he would have fully healed if he himself didn't stop it. Akaza's physical strength was insane, and with his destructive death style and his compass needle technique, he was a nightmare to fight. And even before becoming a demon, Akaza was very strong. As a child, he would defeat and even knock out grown men, and as an 18-year-old, he annihilated 67 trained swordsmen by himself. However, unlike his demon self, when Akaza was a human, he didn't want to become strong for a selfish reason. His reasoning was actually admirable. When Akaza was young, he lived in the slums with his sick father. Akaza loved his dad very much, and in order to get money for his dad's medicine, he resorted to pickpocketing. By the age of 11, Akaza had already been arrested and beaten multiple times and was marked as a criminal. However, Akaza didn't care about the arrests or beatings, he only wanted to get stronger so that he could help his dad. However, when Akaza's dad found out about Akaza's life of crime, he hung himself. He wanted his son to live an honest life, and if his need for medicine drove his son to a life of crime, he didn't want to stay alive as a burden. After the death of Akaza's dad, Akaza went into an emotional spiral using his immense strength to beat up grown men until one day he was confronted by a random dojo owner named Keizo. Right before Akaza met Keizo, he had just knocked out 7 grown men, but when he fought Keizo, Akaza was soundly defeated. After the fight, Keizo took Akaza in and gave him a new purpose. Keizo had Akaza take care of his sickly daughter Koyuki, and he even taught Akaza his Soryu martial arts style. Over the years, Akaza trained and grew stronger, and Koyuki even became healthy, and when Akaza turned 18, Keizo gave Akaza both his dojo and Koyuki's hand in marriage. Akaza had found new purpose in his strength, and he wanted to become the strongest so that he could protect his newfound future, and that future looked bright. Until it wasn't. For years, a neighboring dojo had been harassing Keizo and Akaza because they wanted Keizo's dojo for themselves. However, because the other dojo was not as strong as Keizo and Akaza, they never could really do anything about them. So one day, when Akaza left to visit his dad's grave, the rival dojo poisoned Keizo's water and ended up murdering both Keizo and Akaza's bride-to-be, Koyuki. When Akaza found out about this, he basically lost his mind, and in a fit of rage, he brutally murdered 67 swordsmen of the rival dojo. The murder scene was so brutal that a maid that had witnessed it lost her mind, and when the King of Demons Muzan heard about the incident, he automatically assumed it must have been a demon's doing. As Muzan went to investigate, he crossed Akaza's path, and Muzan forcefully gave him his blood to turn Akaza into a demon. But at this point, Akaza didn't even fight it, as he had stopped caring about anything. As Akaza became a demon, he forgot all his human memories, but the one thing that remained was his goal to get stronger by any means, albeit a twisted version. And for years, Akaza went around trying to get stronger with no real purpose, until he fought Gyu and Tanjiro, where his memories returned and he faced redemption. During the fight, Tanjiro had actually managed to cut off Akaza's head, but because Akaza had the healing powers of Jesus himself, his head was somehow able to start regenerating. As this was happening, Akaza's memories started to pour back into him, and he started to regret all that he did. He realized that his actions had tainted his master's precious Shoryu martial art, and he had disrespected his dad's final wishes. After this realization, he used his own technique to mangle his own body, and when his body started to regenerate again, he purposely stopped the regeneration. As he stopped this, his dad and master appeared in front of him, and Akaza asked for forgiveness. Both his dad and master forgave him and said they wouldn't abandon him. However, as this was happening, Muzan appeared in front of Akaza and almost convinced Akaza to go back to his demon ways. However, when Akaza was about to succumb to Muzan, Koyuki appeared. When Akaza saw her, he broke down, begging for her forgiveness, but there was nothing to ask forgiveness for, as Koyuki was just glad Akaza had remembered his old loved ones. And as he started to disintegrate away, Koyuki held Akaza in her arms, saying, quote, "Welcome back, my husband." Now Akaza was able to find his road to redemption, but he wasn't the only one. While most of the demons had horrid pasts and actually had no care for redemption, Daki, and to a lesser extent her brother Gyutaro, found some redemption. Both Gyutaro and Daki were both born into poverty and were constantly abused and mistreated by their mother. However, because of their physical attributes, they were in different situations. Gyutaro was a gangly, weird-looking kid who was mistreated because of his appearance and voice. Growing up, he basically had nothing, with his only toy being a sickle that someone had forgotten. However, when Daki was born, he gained a sense of pride over her, and before anything else, cherished her. At one point, their mom attempted to forcefully cut off Daki's hair with a razor, and Gyutaro, in a fit of rage, stopped his mom. Because of this incident, Daki was raised mainly by her brother until she was a teenager. Daki was basically the polar opposite of her brother in appearance, and was considered extremely beautiful. Because of her beauty, she was noticed by one of the owners of the higher class brothels, and she was able to obtain things she had never had before. She was able to eat good food, have a higher class education, and a safe place to live. And alongside her, her brother worked as a collector for the brothel. Because of her beauty, she garnered a ton of success for the brothel, and for a while it seemed as if everything would be good. However, one day one of Daki's customers insulted Gyutaro in front of Daki, and in a fit of rage, Daki stabbed the customer in the eye. In retaliation, the customer ended up burning Daki to near death, and when Gyutaro found her, he became hysterical. He tried to find anyone that would help her, but no one cared until he crossed paths with Doma, an upper moon demon. Doma offered to make Daki and Gyutaro into demons, and Gyutaro accepted the offer. Like most of their demons, they forgot about their human lives, but they carried over some of their human attributes. Gyutaro, because of his rough upbringing, came to hate anyone that he perceived was blessed with a better life than him, and he believed he had every right to take from someone who had a better life. Even when Gyutaro was later defeated, he had no regrets over all his killing he did as a demon. However, the one thing that he did regret was how his sister was raised. Gyutaro had immense love for his sister and regretted turning her into a demon, and he believed because he had raised her, she had lived a much harder life than she deserved. For Daki, when she was young, she was very impressionable and had an honest personality and took after the lessons of her brother. Her brother taught her to be selfish and to only look out for herself, and told her to quote, "take before being taken from." These lessons translated to her demon self, where Daki was extremely prideful and selfish, often abusing her servants and often mocking and demeaning anyone she deemed under her. Her demon personality was so selfish and bratty to the point that even though she loved her brother, when they were both defeated, she blamed him for their loss, and both of them got into an extremely heated argument, until Tanjiro stopped them. However, their lives didn't just end in hate and evilness, because during their death, the extent of their love for each other was shown. When they both died, Gyutaro and Daki met each other in limbo. While Gyutaro was destined to go to hell, Daki still had a chance to go to heaven, so Gyutaro told her to go there. However, Daki absolutely refused to leave her brother, and Gyutaro eventually acquiesced and, like old times, carried her on his back, walking away together. In the end, both of them cared about family the most, which was similar to another demon. Rui was a lower moon demon that Tanjiro fought early on in the story. Before he was turned into a demon, Rui was a weak, frail boy that was constantly bedridden. One night, Muzan approached Rui and offered to save him, and Rui, not understanding the true consequences, accepted Muzan's offer. Rui was turned into a demon, and while he now had a strong body, he could no longer go out into the sun and had to eat humans to survive. One day, Rui killed a man who had walked into his house, and when his parents found out, they were horrified. His parents then planned to kill him, but not out of cold blood, but because they cared about their son and didn't want their son to live a horrid demon's life. However, Rui didn't know that, and when his dad came at him with a knife, Rui murdered both of his parents. Because of this, Rui had an emotional breakdown, and Muzan appeared in front of him saying it wasn't Rui's fault, but actually his parents' fault. Rui, in order to cope with the situation, accepted Muzan's statement, and in a twisted way of copying the familial bonds he had lost, he created the Spider Family. The Spider Family had the roles of a traditional family such as mother, father, and sister, but Rui had very specific ideas on how these roles should be played, and if a demon could not fulfill the role, Rui would torture them or even kill them. As the years went on, Rui started to forget more and more of his human past and why he even wanted the Spider Family, but he held onto just the desire itself. However, years later when he was defeated by Tanjiro, Rui was able to remember his past and why he desired a family so much. and as he faded into limbo, he met his parents again. When Rui met his parents, he started to cry because he thought that his actions as a demon destined him for hell. However, his parents reassured him and said that they would always be with him even if they had to join him in hell. Rui started to hug them and cry, and they all walked into the afterlife.